What's up, everybody? Welcome to Fusion. We are back after a couple of weeks off, and I'm your host, Joe Smith, and I want to thank you for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. We're going to continue just talking about the principles and the things that cause us to be successful. I'm going to keep bringing you great interviews with people who are successful, who can give you firsthand accounts of how they went from where they were to where they are now. I've been getting some great feedback, and apparently you guys have been being blessed by it. So I'm thankful for that. So today we're going to continue the conversation about how to be successful. But one of the things that we have to do if we're going to talk about how to be successful is we have to speak on the enemies of success. And there are a lot of things that even if you're smart, even if you have great ideas, even if you're a hard worker, even if you're creative, even if you're resourceful, there are things that can sabotage your success from the inside out. It can stop you, it can hinder you, it could hold up your blessings, it could stop the flow of success from coming into your life or from maintaining itself in your life. And so we're going to talk about what some of those things are. And there's none, in my opinion, that's more, I mean, there's a lot of them, but one of the main ones is the victim mentality. Victim mentality is cancer. It's like cancer. I mean, and it literally eats you from the inside out. I have a friend who their uncle died from cancer, and they were telling me about how, on the outside, he looked normal. And, when they opened him up, cancer just spread everywhere. It was like when the air hit it, it just spread everywhere all through their body. And that's how I see the victim mentality. It's just like once it sets up shop inside of your mindset, your psyche, it just takes over, and it's got tentacles that just spread out into every area of your life, and it can literally stop you from being successful, and it short circuits your success from the inside out. Okay, so we're going to talk about the victim mentality in depth, and that's why I call this show the victim mentality part one, because it's a lot to unpack. And so we're just going to get going, and I'm going to get as far down the road as I can get on it. And what we don't cover today, we'll cover in subsequent shows. So let's define the victim mentality. The victim mentality is an acquired personality trait in which a person tends to recognize themselves as a victim of the negative actions of others. And those people behave as if this were the case, even in the face of contrary evidence of such circumstances. Again, it's a personality trait in which a person tends to recognize themselves as a victim of the negative actions of others and behaves itself as if this were the case, even in the face of contrary evidence of such circumstances. The victim mentality gives you a poor me attitude. And it is allergic. It causes a person, it's allergic to taking responsibility for their actions. People are always against them. The reason for their unhappiness. They portray themselves as unfortunates who demand to be rescued. And they will make you into their therapist. Wow, that's deep. Now, I want to cover something and set something up as the foundation for this conversation. Victim mentality is what we're talking about. I'm separating that from the idea that you're not a victim. So in other words, what I'm saying is just because you are a victim doesn't mean you have to have victim mentality. Nobody's denying that things happen in our lives, both collectively as groups, whether the group is a race, or whether the group is a gender, or whether the group is a particular religious belief or a particular sexual orientation, or whatever the group is. It can work on groups as well as individuals. No one is denying that groups or individuals have not been victims or are not currently being victims of the bad actions of someone else. But just because you are a victim does not mean that you have to have a victim mentality. And so, it's funny because the Bible talks about, strongholds, and I've always said that, the devil's purpose is not to make you uncomfortable with whatever the initial action is. His purpose, his plan is to set up strongholds in your life. So, for example, someone who is molested when they're a child. I currently am in post-production on a documentary called #Violated, where I interviewed people who have been victims of criminal sexual assault or abuse. And these people were all adults, and every one of them had some stage or another of after effects in their life from things that happened when they were children or when they were teenagers. We talking about people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, still experiencing the after effects of things that happened to them when they were children. So that's the stronghold. That's what the devil is after. He's not concerned about just making you uncomfortable in the moment. What he wants to do is use that inciting incident or that traumatic incident as a gateway into your life to set up shop so that 10 years later, 20 years later, 30 years later, you're still dysfunctional from what happened to you. And I just use that as an example. This can apply to anything. So the devil's always looking to set up strongholds in your life. And a lot of times we don't even realize the strongholds that have set up shop inside of us because of things that happened to us that we thought we were over, and so the victim mentality can be one of those strongholds. You go through something traumatic, you go through something terrible, you go through something horrible. Nobody's denying that it was traumatic. Nobody's denying that it was horrible. Nobody's denying that it was terrible. But what I am attacking is the stronghold that sets up shop so that 20 years after the traumatic experience has long been over, you're still living in this self-pity or this poor me attitude or this mental space to where you can't get out of the tailspin of feeling like a victim. And so when it says that, people behave as if they are victims, even in the face of contrary evidence, what they're saying is that you can become a victim and have a victim mentality. And what that victim mentality does is it makes you feel like you're always a victim in every circumstance, in every situation, even when you're not. Because I was done wrong over here, everybody's always trying to do me wrong. Because I was treated badly in this situation, everybody's always trying to treat me badly. Because I was abused in this situation, everybody's always trying to abuse me. And what happens is that cloak of victim mentality will even mask the fact that some people go from becoming victims to victimizers, and they don't even realize it because the whole time they're still feeling like victims. I watch a lot of documentaries on mass murderers, and every mass murderer that I know of, serial killer, every documentary I've ever seen on serial killers, they were all abuse victims or had some type of trauma coming from their childhood. You know what I'm saying? Something that happened with their mother or something that happened with their father, something that became a thing, a stronghold in their life, so that when they got older, it played itself out in other ways. But they didn't see themselves as perpetrators. They still saw themselves as victims, right? So, for example, a serial killer who goes around killing women because his mother used to abuse him when he was young, he doesn't see himself as victimizing his victims. He sees himself as a victim of his mother's abuse. So that victim mentality is clouding and distorting his sense of right and wrong. So that's how the victim, when you think about it like that, you start to see how dangerous the victim mentality is. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. It can literally cloud a person's judgment. And I talked about this before, about how the way that the victim mentality works is that the whole time that you're doing wrong, victim mentality makes you feel like you're right. So you don't see what you're doing as wrong. You see it as justice. So the guy who gets cheated on by his wife or his girlfriend, that then spends the next 10 years dogging women, he doesn't see himself as dogging women because, he's wrong or he's bad. He sees himself as the victim of women, and he's just levying justice to some extent, to a twisted degree. It's justice, Same thing with women who've been hurt by men. So then they close their heart off and they dog men and they do this and that and the other. They feel justified in what they're doing because they're seeing themselves as being victims of men, even if they were only the victim of one man or two men or four men. Now they have taken that as a thought process towards all men. And so that's a bad thing. Victim mentality is a bad boy. You don't want to mess with that victim mentality. Whoo. And so we're going to talk about, and so again, before I move on, I want to reiterate that attacking the victim mentality does not mean that we're taking away the fact that you may have been a victim of a circumstance or of a person or of a group of people or whatever the case may be. We're just saying that once you're a victim, you have to work to get rid of the victim mentality so that it doesn't take up root in your life. And how do we do that? We do that by understanding the difference between fault and responsibility. I want you to watch this clip, and it's going to kind of break down the difference between fault versus responsibility. Check it out.
Having a debate with a friend of mine, and we got stuck on the difference between fault and responsibility. She kept talking about how something was somebody's fault. It's somebody's fault. And I was like, it don't matter whose fault it is that something is broken if it's your responsibility to fix it. For example, it's not somebody's fault if their father was an abusive alcoholic, but it's for damn sure their responsibility to figure out how they're going to deal with those traumas and try to make a life out of it. It's not your fault if your partner cheated and ruined your marriage, but it is for damn sure your responsibility to figure out how to take that pain and how to overcome that and build a happy life for yourself. Fault and responsibility do not go together. It sucks, but they don't. When something is somebody's fault, we want them to suffer. We want them punished. We want them to pay. And we want it to be their responsibility to fix it. But that's not how it works, especially when it's your heart. Your heart, your life, your happiness is your responsibility and your responsibility alone. As long as we're pointing the finger and stuck in whose fault something is, we're jammed and trapped into victim mode. When you're in victim mode, you are stuck in suffering. The road to power is in taking responsibility. Your heart, your life, your happiness is your responsibility and your responsibility alone. Hey, I want to thank y'all for your response to my IG story, the fault versus responsibility. It's been a lot of comments about that. There was one thing I wanted to add also. I wanted to say there that taking responsibility, accepting responsibility is not an admission of guilt. You're not admitting that you're at fault. Taking responsibility is a recognition of the power that you seize when you stop blaming people. It's not like you're letting somebody who wronged you off the hook. Like taking responsibility is an act of emotional self-defense. Taking responsibility is taking your power back.
Wow. Fault versus responsibility. That's real talk, y'all. Because see, that what happens is with the victim mentality, it causes you to not want to take responsibility for any part of it, even the part that you can fix, because you think that personal responsibility or taking responsibility means that you're accepting guilt or you're accepting blame or saying that it's your fault that you're in the situation. Listen, we understand your mama wasn't there, your daddy wasn't there. We understand, that you've been through trauma in your life and traumatic experiences in your life. We understand. We are not taking that away from you. We're not saying that any of those things were your fault. We are saying that in order to salvage and cause your life to be productive, you have to take responsibility for fixing it. You know what I'm saying? I was in a rollover accident about 16 years ago. I was in a rollover accident, and guy was flying down the side street doing about 70. He ran the stop sign. I had the right of way. I didn't have a stop sign, so I'm rolling. He runs the stop sign, hits my passenger door, flips my car upside down. I had just had the car for 2 weeks, so it was his fault. But check this out. What happened was the spirit of fear tried to come in. So what would happen was, while I was driving the rental, every time I would get to an intersection, even if I had the green light, even if I had the right of way, even if I didn't have any stop sign, I would tense up. I would tense up and I would get nervous. I'm like, because I had the trauma of this guy running a stop sign and hitting my car. And so that was his fault. The trauma that I was feeling, the stress that I was feeling when I would get to intersections was his fault. It wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything to deserve that. I didn't ask for it. I was just trying to go home. And actually, this accident happened around the corner from my house. Hit me, flipped the car upside down. So now every time I get to an intersection, I'm nervous. I'm tensing up. And so when I realized, oh, that's the spirit of fear trying to come in, I had to take responsibility to overcome that. It wasn't my fault. It was his fault. But I couldn't depend on him to fix my sense of spirit of fear. What did he care? He gone on with his business, about his business with his life. So that's the difference between fault and responsibility. We're not denying that there wasn't a traumatic experience, but you got to take responsibility for your life. It's your life. Somebody dumped some garbage or dropped some garbage or dropped, some mess on the ground in front of your house. It's not your fault, but it's your house. You got to take responsibility and clean it up. It's not fair. It's not going to be fair. Who promised you fair? Nobody said life was going to be fair. It's not fair. You're right. It's not fair. It was not fair for me to have to pray and fast and come against the spirit of fear and, overcome that stronghold that was trying to set up shop in my life. It's not fair, but I had to do it. So that's the difference between fault and responsibility. Because guess what? If you don't take responsibility to change things and fix things, you're the only one that's impacted by that. Your life is impacted by that, and your legacy will be impacted by that. Some people, all they do is reflect on their past and what happened to them. Don't you know when you reflect on your past and what happened to you in your past, you become a prisoner of your past? It hinders your growth, man. Hinders your growth. Thank you, Will Smith, for breaking that down so eloquently. We thoroughly enjoyed that. So we're going to talk about accepting responsibility for your actions and how you deal with the victim mentality, because it's very, very debilitating, and it's like our whole society now, our whole culture now is like victim mentality. Like everything, like victim mentality has become like it's woven into the fabric of our society now. Everybody feels like they're a victim, whether they are or aren't. Everybody feels like they're a victim. Everybody feels like they're being attacked. Everybody feels like everybody's so sensitive. If you say the wrong thing, if you say the wrong whatever, everybody's just so sensitive. Everybody's afraid of being judged. Everybody's afraid of being shamed. Don't judge me. Don't shame me. Don't be so negative. It's like all of that to me is victim mentality, man. Like, who cares if somebody judges you? Who cares if somebody shames you? If they don't have power over you, then what do you care about, what they think or what their opinion is or whatever? It's like, and it's so two-faced. The way we think is like, on one hand, I don't care what nobody thinks. I don't care. I'm long as I'm happy, I don't care what you think. But then on the other side, we're so sensitive. So did you lie? Obviously, you do care what I think. And you got to understand that, nowadays, everybody's playing the victim. Even the victimizers are playing the victim. So once you start playing that victim card, that's the danger of that. Once you start playing that victim card, anybody can play the victim card. So you like, woe is me, I'm the victim. And then the person that did you dirty, they like, woe is me, I'm the victim. What happened to accountability? What happened to taking responsibility for your actions, whether they're good or bad? Now, let's talk about the benefits of the victim mentality. Bet y'all didn't see that one coming. Because there are some benefits to the victim mentality, hence the reason why people play the victim. It's not because there's not any benefits to it. So let's talk about some of the benefits. One of the benefits of victim mentality is attention and validation. You always get good feelings from other people when they're concerned about you and they're trying to help you out. When you're getting that attention and, you always in distress, you always going through and people are concerned and people are giving you that attention. It makes you feel validated. People care. So one of the benefits of the victim mentality are attention and validation. Another benefit of the victim mentality is that you don't have to take risk. When you feel like a victim, you tend to not take action. And then when you don't take action, then you don't have to take any risks. So you don't have to worry about rejection. You don't have to worry about failure. You don't have to worry about none of that, because you can sit back and lay back and not do anything. And the victim mentality will cover you like a blanket and make you feel warm and fuzzy about not doing anything. How many of you have not started your business because you had a business and it didn't work? And you're like, I ain't signing back up for that no time soon. And you wallow in all of the things that went wrong. You wallow in all of the things that worked against you, worked against your success. Victim mentality. Again, victim mentality doesn't mean that those things didn't happen to you. That's not what we're saying. When we're talking about the victim mentality, I want to keep reiterating that because I don't want to give anybody an excuse to tighten up and not hear what I'm saying. We're not saying that things didn't work against your success. But when you buy into that narrative and just stay there, then you don't take action. You don't take risks. So that's the second benefit of victim mentality. The first one is attention and validation. The second one is you don't have to take risks. The third one is you don't have to take responsibility. We talked about that because responsibility is heavy. Taking responsibility for your own life can be hard work. You have to make difficult decisions, and it's just heavy. Now, in the short term, it can make you feel like it's the easier choice. I mean, you know, if you think of all the conversations you don't have to have, think about the looks in the mirror that you don't have to take. You are literally free from responsibility. See, when you start taking responsibility for your actions, you got to look in that mirror. That mirror, a bad boy. That mirror, let me tell you something. I ain't talking about the mirrors at the carnival where you stand in the mirror and it stretch you and make you look skinny, or you move and stretch and make you look fat. No, I'm talking about just a regular, plain old real mirror. It don't do nothing but show you what's there, whether you like it or not. You ever planned an outfit in your head? You're like, man, I'm gonna put this shirt with this skirt, and I'm gonna put these shoes with these pants, and I'm gonna put this blazer with this, and blah 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 blah. You got it mapped out in your head. You done laid it out on the bed. You looking at it like, yes. Whew. You put that bad boy on and get in the mirror, and it look a mess. Everything that you built up in your mind to say this is going to be great, the mirror exposes you. Says, no, it don't look right. That jacket don't look right with those pants. It looks right with the other pants you had on that other time when you wore the blazer. But this here pants, these that you thought was going to look, it don't look like how you thought it was going to look. That mirror, a bad boy. You spent all that time fixing your hair and you get done looking at mirror. Your mirror, a bad boy. But the only way that you can make it right is to know what you're dealing with. And the only way to know what you're dealing with is to look in the mirror. And while the weight of rejection is heavy, if you fix what you see that you don't like, you're trading short-term validation for long-term success. And that's what a lot of people can't do. And that will undermine your success. Think about the conversations you don't have to have. If you don't take responsibility for your actions, you never have to say, I was wrong. You never have to say, I'm sorry. You never have to say, I messed up. You don't have to do none of that. You don't have to come up with a different plan. You don't have to come up with a different strategy. You don't have to do none of that. You can just live in your, as they say, live in your own truth. Whether that truth is reality or not, it's your truth. And you can just live in there. And it's all safe and comfy and cozy because everything about your truth, if it's not rooted in reality, your truth can become your own little cozy room of death. Because all while you're in there, you're being placated and you're stroking your own feelings and not dealing with reality. What's reality? That you may have been wrong, that you may have handled things wrong, the way you looked at things may have been wrong. You know, maybe things didn't work out because of you. It's not everybody else. Maybe it was you. You got to fix your attitude. You got to fix that mouth. You got to fix how you deal with people. You got to fix your temper. You know, you got to change how you handle money. You got to change how you handle credit. You know, you got to get your stuff together. That's hard. It's heavy. Sometimes it takes people decades to come to those realizations. But here's the scary part. Because of the victim mentality, some people never come to grips with that. And it holds them back. And the whole time that they're being held back and held down, they're blaming somebody else. So that was number 3. Attention and validation is number 1. You don't have to take risks is number 2. Number 3, you don't have to take responsibility. Number 4, it makes you feel right. When you feel like the victim, you feel like everybody else or at least somebody else is wrong and you are right. And that can give you a sense of pleasure, a sense of feeling comfortable. I talked earlier about how the victim mentality views wrong as justice. You know, we just saw a couple of months ago, we just had the protests as a result of the George Floyd killing. And there were people who wanted to protest his killing. And then there were other people who wanted to, you know, loot and turn and tear down and burn down stuff. And even there were even black owned stores that were looted. You know, there was one girl, she owned a high-end resale shop in Atlanta. She talked about how, you know, she was all for the protests and all for what everybody was doing. But then they broke in her shop and stole $100,000 worth of merchandise out of her shop. You know, she's a black owned, and she's like everybody in that neighborhood, everybody in that area knows that shop is black owned. You know, but the people who were doing the burning and the looting and the tearing up stuff, they felt like they were right because they see themselves as victims of the system. And so that sense of victimhood says, no matter what I do, I'm right because I'm the victim. How can I be victimizing you when I'm the victim? Using the analogy I said earlier, you know, guy gets cheated on by his girl or somebody that he loves, and then he becomes a scoundrel and dogs other women. But the whole time in his mind, he feels like he's the victim. You're not the victim. I'm the victim. Because you're a part of that group that hurt me. And that's why I tell people, I was like, you got to be careful. Like when we were talking about, I was on somebody's podcast and we were talking about racial injustice and outrage and things of that nature. And I said, you got to be careful. I said, because if you're not careful, you'll become the people that you're protesting against. The oppressed becomes the oppressor. The bullied becomes the bully. And you don't even see that that's what's happening. I call it the zombie bite. So why you call it a zombie bite? If you ever see a zombie movie, that's what happens. You got a person that's perfectly human. They get bit by the zombie. And instead of them dying, they turn into a zombie. So they go from being a victim to becoming a victimizer. So that's an analogy that I like to use. I know zombies don't exist for real, or do they? So yeah, I call it the zombie bite. You know, you were sexually abused as a child, and now you're grown and you're abusing people. You know, you watched your dad beat your mom, now you beating your wife. You know, so it's very easy to become the victimizer, because the whole time that that's happening, you feel like you're right because you're living in your victimization. Because see, all of these things that I'm talking about all are things that you have to overcome if you want to be successful. See what I'm saying? Because when you own a business or you run a business or you're an entrepreneur, you have to take responsibility. The buck stops with you. So even if it's not your fault, it's your fault because your name is on the business, or your name is down as the owner or down as the CEO. You know, it's your name. So it's your fault. Even if it's not really your fault, you still have to take responsibility and accountability for it because it's your business. In order to be successful, you have to take risk. So you can't afford to be laid up and wallowing in all of the things that happened bad and who ripped you off for your money and the customers that didn't support and blah, 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 blah. If you're going to be successful, you have to take risk. If you're going to be successful, you have to take responsibility. If you're going to be successful, you can't be addicted to validation, because there's going to be things that are going to happen in your journey as an entrepreneur where you're not going to be validated. People aren't going to like you. People are not going to like your new product. People are not going to like your new summer collection. You know, people are not going to like your new design. People are not going to like your new your new store hours or office hours, whatever it is. People are not going to like the new policy of having to wear a mask in your business. So you can't be addicted to validation and be successful. So you got to understand, man, it's victim mentality. We're going to talk some more about it. It's a bad motor scooter, boy, because it works on you and you don't even realize that it's working on you. Here's one of the things I don't like when I hear people say, like, once you become aware of what the victim mentality is and how it works, then it annoys you when you hear it or you see it. Like when you hear the behavior, when you see the behavior or you hear what I call victim speak, oh, it gets on your nerves. Something terrible. It gets on your nerves, something terrible. Like the idea that you always think somebody else, like I can't stand when you think that somebody's supposed to care about you all the time. Like I can't stand, somebody posted something the other day. They was like, these millionaires and billionaires, they don't care about us. The government doesn't care about us. Why do you support this company? They don't care about you. And I tell people this. This is going to be I'm going to close out after this. Life is transactional, especially when it comes to business. I don't have to care about you when it comes down to handling business. Okay. If I sell shoes and you come to me to buy shoes, you give me money, I give you shoes. It's transactional. If you walk outside my shoe store and get hit by a car, that's tragic. And I'm sorry to hear that on a human level, on a personal level, right? But as far as Joe's shoe store, I'm not there to be your friend. It's transactional. So in other words, what I'm saying is I don't expect anybody to care about me. I just expect for you to provide me with what you're supposed to provide me with. So if it's a government, then I expect you to provide me with protection. I expect you to provide me with the services that my taxes pay for, on and on and on and on. You don't know me. I don't know you. And you as an entity, I don't take it personal if you don't do something that I feel like you should do. It's transactional. So if you don't feel like if I feel like you're doing something or not doing something that's in my best interest, then I'm gonna attack you with my voting. Whoever's running this, I'm gonna get them out the way and get somebody in that I feel like will serve my interest. But that part is transactional. Life is transactional. Stop expecting people to care about you. You know, your family, your loved ones, your friends, the people around you, they care about you. They're supposed to care about you. And sometimes even they won't. So, you know, stop, because I mean, we don't go around living our lives with everybody else in our thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Like if you driving down the street and you go stop for some gas and it's a homeless guy at the gas station, if he asks you for some change and you have some change in your pocket, you give him some change. You go in the grocery store or the gas station, take care of your business, you get in your car, you leave. You're not going the rest of your day thinking about how you can benefit the homeless guy. It was a transactional thing, but then you go on with your life. You know what I'm saying? So we got to get this thing out of our head. Nobody cares about it. There are some things in life that are just transactional, and especially in business. I'm talking about in business more so. I'm not talking about you as an individual so much as I'm talking as I am talking about the importance of business and understanding that a business situation is just that. You know, you're not there to care about me any more past the extent of where I serve your interests and vice versa. So that's what a transactional relationship is, right? I'm providing you with money, you provide me with goods and services. Or if you're the entrepreneur or the business person, you provide me with money, I provide you with goods and services. And I will appreciate you for patronizing me when you could patronize somebody else. But even that is still, I'm appreciating you partially out of being genuine, but also out of, because I want to keep you as a customer. It's still transactional. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you don't have a victim mentality, that don't bother you. You understand that that's the nature of the world, that's the nature of life, and that there is a time and a place to be charitable. There is a time and a place to be concerned about the issues of others. There is a time and a place and a context for you to care about others. But when it's in the parts of life where it's transactional, you got to be cool and understand that it's transactional. It's not personal. It's transactional. All right. So we're going to get deeper into this. We're going to talk more about the victim mentality. You know, and please, I would love to read more comments and hear about, you know, your thoughts on things. If you need to reach out to me, you can reach me at Joe Smith Worldwide at gmail.com. Shoot me an email and let me know how Fusion has been a blessing to you. And definitely will appreciate that. You can hit me on Instagram and YouTube at Millionaire Joe. Check me out on my social media. Go on YouTube, like, subscribe, share, and I sure would appreciate that. Okay. Before I get out of here, I want to put you up on a new book. I hope you guys have been reading the books that we've been pushing the past few weeks. This is a book I'm actually listening to this particular audio book, and I love it. It's called Poverty Proof: 50 Ways to Train Your Brain for Wealth by Douglas Kruger. Poverty Proof: 50 Ways to Train Your Brain for Wealth by Douglas Kruger. And this is a dope book. I've really been, he's really digging into some points and of how to change your mentality, and not just change your mentality, but change your actions to get you from poverty to wealth. And he does a really good job of breaking it down. Again, these are things that, though, you can't listen to if you have a victim mentality. If you have a victim mentality, you get offended. But if you don't have a victim mentality and you're willing to take responsibility and accountability for where you find yourself financially, whether it's your fault or not, it may not be your fault, but it's your responsibility. And once you're ready to take responsibility, you can hear certain things and it won't offend you. You'll be like, yep, that's true. That applies to me. Let me go fix that. All right. So check that out. We'll be back next week. Hope that you guys enjoyed the show. Hit me up for a t-shirt. I got some people that paid for some t-shirts. We had to wait for the t-shirts to get delivered. Delivery has been a little sucky, but we got t-shirts ready, and check it out. Grab it. All right. I will see you next week, and enjoy your week and your weekend. Peace.